That is a 302 bored 40 thousandths over, which basically makes it a 307 with a trick flow cam, AFR heads, trick flow roller rockers, retrofit hydraulic roller lifters, Holley double pumper carburetor up on top of a Edelbrock RPM air gap 2 dual plane intake manifold on a freshly ground and machined block. Suffice to say, I'm pretty excited. It's supposed to be in the 400 horsepower range, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's look back to see how we got to this point.
So here's the plan. We talked about options. I love the idea of a Coyote swap, but dang it, it's just too involved, especially for a coupe. Look, maybe someday, but today, I don't think so. If you do a Coyote swap, you've pretty well got to drop the front end, which means you're putting in like a Mustang 2 IFS. The whole front end comes out, shock towers, the whole nine. That's a big project and it's not cheap. It also means you've got to put in a transmission that will mate to the Coyote engine, which means that the tunnel in the car has to be all cut out to make it big enough to fit a bigger transmission. The C4 that's in there today is far from optimal, but it works and it checks out based on an oil test. So for now, the plan is to run with the 302. That was also contingent upon what the machine shop said. Well, we have the engine back. It has been bored 40 thousandths over, which makes it, I believe, a 307 or something like that, so woohoo. And the crank has been ground 1010. So both the main journals and the the connecting rod journals have been ground 10 thousandths of an inch. And we have oversized bearings to put together in that. So pretty much we're looking at what might be considered a brand new 302, cleanly manufactured from the machine shop. And I'm kind of excited to put it together. I've also procured a top end kit that will do more for this 302, certainly, than what it did from factory. And part of the challenge here is seeing how much power we can get out of a 302. This kit that I'm dealing with is supposed to produce about 400 horsepower. Yeah, that's at the engine, I get it. And by many standards, that's not very exciting. But for a car that's mostly going to spend its time on the streets around here, I think that'll do. It'll be plenty. I've got airflow research heads for it. I've got a trick flow cam. I've got retrofit hydraulic lifters that are kind of exciting. I've never done those before, so that should be kind of fun. Those parts are on order. We expect them any day now, and so what we're going to do is get the rotational assembly all put together. I'll get Zach to help me with that part, and then when the top end comes in, we'll get to finish putting the whole thing together. Let's do it. Come here, Zach.
Give me some gloves.
Okay, so the cap on the end of the rod right there is matched to the rod. See how it's numbered? So there's number 4, that's the one that I just put in. This is number 8, it's the one I'm putting in now. The machine shop numbered them for us.
I remember that.
Okay, so we're just making sure that all the right pieces stay together. 8 with 8, okay? So we're taking that off, and then I come over here and I get the bearing. See how there's a tang slot right there?
Yeah.
There's a tang right there. So that goes in there like that, and you want it to be flush on both ends, okay? Then, you've done this part before. This is almost just like a motorcycle, just more of them. You gotta put all the rings on, okay? This is the wipe ring. That's supposed to just pull the oil down. And then these 2 are compression rings. And on a 4-stroke, what you wanna do is have the gaps in the rings be in different places. So that one.
Doesn't matter where.
Not really, just so long as they're not,
that makes sense, actually.
just as long as they don't overlap. Grab that orange blow hammer. I'll let you do the honors here in a second. Okay. Now what we're going to do is rotate this so the notch is pointed forward. Make sure it's tight on the rings. Okay, first thing I want you to do is kind of gently tap all the way around this. That's to make sure that it's seated down against the block. Go all the way around it.
I'll give you a whole free deal or something.
Good.
Good.
Now use the handle and hit the end of the piston, while what I'm doing is holding the end of the rod so that it doesn't scratch the crank when it goes in. Yep, a few more hits. I'm guiding it with my hand down here. You wouldn't want to do that by yourself.
Yeah.
Without having something to guide it.
How
Keep going. It'll stop there. That's it. Okay, now we got to cap it, Zach. So we'll lubricate this. This is number 4. So where does it go?
On the number 4 spot.
Yep. Which one's that?
The one that's labeled number 4.
Mm-hmm. Which one's that?
Mine's a 2-inch. He has a 1-inch one. that is like super long. Like you could
Is it not the one we just did?
It's one of the ones we just did. We actually just did
Wait a minute.
number 8.
2 right there. Okay.
So you can see some numbers. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, so this is. Yeah, 4 is this way.
Yep, so it's on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, which direction does it go? Does it go like this, or does it go like this?
It goes like the other way.
When do you expect to see him again?
Yeah, it goes the other way.
It goes this way?
No? That's the notch right there. To match it
So the
with
tang is right here.
the tang.
That's called a tang. That should match up with the tang on the other side. And notice that there's a shape here. See how it's kind of carved out on the one side? That needs to match up, and it goes against the journal.
Well, I had a 50-50 chance.
That's right. And now you know. Now we need to torque those. Grab your phone and look up torque spec on Ford 302 connecting rod caps.
So the main, okay, hold on. Connecting rod bolts?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so it says 22 to 25 foot-pounds. Is that how you say that?
Yeah. Well, that's pretty exciting. The cam just showed up. This is the Trick Flow grind number TFS 5140301. Official Trick Flow timing set. Due to a minor technical glitch, translation, I forgot to hit the record button. I don't have the assembly of the timing set on videos. All you got to do is put the number 1 cylinder, which on a Ford is the front passenger side, at top dead center. That should put the keyway on the crankshaft at the top as well. And then set the timing gear such that the pin is at the very top, and slide the 2 gears on together. On this particular set, although it's not terribly easy to see, there is a retainer that holds the cam in place, and the original bolts on that retainer were hex head. Trick Flow wants these recessed flat head Allen bolts to be used, which means that the retainer has to be cut such that the bolts can recess into that retainer. So you need an 82-degree countersink bit. So that's all assembled. Timing set's ready to go. This eccentric right here drives the fuel pump. Don't forget to put that on before you put the bolt in to hold everything together. So I'm pretty excited about these retrofit roller lifters. They're supposed to unleash a few more ponies, so we like that. I'm not very familiar with them either, so it's kind of a bit of a learning game, which I like learning games, so that's a good thing, right? They have to go in before the heads can go on. The head interferes with the lifter installation, which I can see. That problem might not exist on a 351 because the deck height is higher, but I can see that if the head, which it likely would overhang over the top of the deck right there, I can see that that would be a problem. Now, if we turn that over for a minute, might be kind of cool to see. Okay, everything's rising freely and, more importantly, dropping back in freely, right? There's no spring from the valve pushing the lifter back into the hole, just gravity, and it's free enough that it's sliding back into place. So, I'm happy with that. What I'm not happy with is I forgot to put the towels down on the floor. Now I got a fresh oil mess. Here are the head gaskets. Here's a definite gotcha in Fordland. That right there, front, it means front. There is no upside down, right side up, but there is front back. So in this case, that thing really needs to sit like that, so that the gasket, where it says front, is pointed toward the front. Okay, that one's logical. It looks kind of right side up. This one is the one that gets confusing. That side goes up so that the front can be at the front. That is not a misprint. That is the way it goes for reals. What's not to love about that? Part of what swayed me toward an aluminum head
is that just getting my heads redone at the machine shop was probably going to run me $1,000. The exhaust valve seats have to be redone to work with modern fuels, otherwise they burn. And who knows what else they're going to find in there. So at a minimum, I'm looking at probably $1,000 to redo some old, what were D0 OE heads. And so they'd be fine, but then look, then you're dealing with all kinds of factory-like performance issues. That's not really what I'm looking for here. So for a few dollars more, we went with the AFR. So I'm going to set the torque wrench at, setting the torque wrench at 25 to start. Working our way from the middle. I'm taking it now up to 50. There's 50. Now step 3, taking her up to 70. Click.
I do like the look of some aluminum heads. Everything's fresh and clean and new.
But the cylinder you're going to work on at top dead center, you have to do that so that things can sit uncompressed. Step number 2, install guide plates with lettering facing down. Place rocker studs into the head. Make them just tight enough that you have a little bit of tension on the guide plate. Drop push rods down onto the lifter, making sure that the push rod is in the cup, like so. Grab rocker, set in place. Also making sure that the cup of the rocker is over the push rod. Next step, make sure rocker is centered over valve tail. That will place the guide plate where it needs to go. Then, well, hopefully, keeping the guide plate where you have it, pull the rocker out of the way. Tighten the stud to 50 pounds. Note that the push rod, will generally not be centered in the hole in the head, and that's okay. Next, double check, make sure that your rocker is still centered over the tail of the valve. That's good. Then, secure rocker on rocker stud. Again, I'm not doing any lashing here, I'm just gonna hand tighten these. Lather, rinse, repeat. Okay, we're gonna go valve lash time. So if we hand tighten and then go 3/4 turn, half, 3/4, half, 3/4. I know, and unfortunately those all get covered. It's a crying shame, huh?
See that.
Roller rockers and roller lifters. It should be a rolling machine.
And so here we are. I'm cheating a little bit. The intake manifold is just set in place. There's no bolts in it. Same with the carburetor. Same with the valve covers. I kind of wanted to get the look, but this stuff's pretty straightforward. I hope you tune in with me next week when we put this thing in the car. Maybe we'll even get to fire it up.